Welcome to another day with Plugged In with Joseph Tolbert. I have a great show for you today. I have a very special guest for you today. He is none other than myself. So let's have a great show. Today we'll be talking about the death of Batham Jean. We'll be talking about Representative or Senator Cory Booker's statement and what he's going through in the Judiciary Committee. We'll also be talking about today the voting rights for felons in Maryland. It's very important that we understand our rights as it pertains to Maryland. So let's get ready to check out this video of Mr. Batham Jean. Please roll the video.
All right, protests over the police shooting death of a black man inside his own apartment in Dallas grew tense overnight. A Dallas Morning News journalist captured an officer firing what appeared to be a pepper ball gun into the crowd. More than 100 people gathered to demand justice for Batham Jean. The 26-year-old was shot last week by off-duty police officer Amber Geiger. Omar Villafranca is at the Dallas apartment complex where it all happened. Omar, good morning.
Nora, good morning. Geiger is charged with manslaughter after what happened at this apartment complex. But demonstrators say that is not enough. Her case now heads to a grand jury where those charges could be bumped up to murder. Dozens of demonstrators gathered outside Dallas Police Headquarters Monday evening, demanding justice for Batham Jean. Dallas County District Attorney Faith Johnson.
We will make certain that justice is done in this case.
According to an arrest warrant, Geiger told investigators that she went to what she thought was her third-floor apartment. Instead, she went to Jean's fourth-floor apartment directly above hers. Geiger says her door was ajar and she saw a large silhouette inside. After giving verbal commands that were ignored, she fired her handgun twice, striking Batham once in the torso. It wasn't until Geiger turned on the lights and called 911 that she realized she was at the wrong apartment. Attorneys for Jean's family say two witnesses told them details that contradict Geiger's account.
They heard knocking down the hallway. Followed by a woman's voice that they believe to be Officer Geiger saying, "Let me in, let me in."
The family's attorneys say one of the witnesses then heard gunshots, followed by a man's voice.
What we believe to be the last words of Batham Jean, which was, "Oh my God, why did you do that?"
Allison Jean wants to know what happened to her son.
I'm not satisfied that we have all the answers.
There is really no reason why a mother should have to wait until the conclusion of an investigation to know what happened to her child.
The Texas Rangers are leading this investigation while the Jean family is planning for a very large funeral on Thursday. Gail?
All right. Thank you very much, Omar. A lot of questions remaining there.
Wait a minute. I'm a little confused with what I just saw, as I know many of you are confused as well. We're going to get into this tonight, as I do not believe for 1 minute the account that Officer Amber Geiger is giving us. I'm going to open up the phone lines in a second, so please remember to call 301-429-9247. 301-429-9247. Let's just deal with this for a second. Let's just deal with the account that Officer Geiger gave, okay? She said that she parked into the wrong garage, went up the steps to what she thought was her apartment, and the door was ajar. Okay? Let's just visualize this. She went up the steps to what she thought was her apartment, and the door was open. She said that she gave verbal commands for the person in the house to come out, and when he refused the verbal commands, she then shot and killed Mr. Batham. Now here's what I don't understand. I cannot understand for the life of me, how do you go to an apartment, open the door, and see the furniture in the apartment Because any sane person, when you open up the door of your apartment, you're going to recognize the furniture in your apartment. So this story does not muster to me. I cannot understand how Officer Geyer opened the door, looked into the apartment, saw the furniture in the apartment, and then gave verbal commands to the resident of the apartment, and then shot and killed the brother. This does not sit well with me. So here we go again today. An unarmed black man is shot down and killed in his own apartment. Just think about this. In his own apartment, a black man is shot down and killed, and the story that she gives us is that she went to the wrong apartment. Not to mention the neighbors stating that they heard someone knocking on the door. And then they had the gumption. No, not the gumption. They had the mitigated gall to charge this officer with manslaughter. Now wait a minute. As I understand manslaughter is recklessly causing the death of another with no malicious intent. With no malicious intent. How could there be no malicious intent if you looked into the apartment and saw that it was not your furniture in the apartment, and you still shot your service pistol and killed the brother? I'm not going to get into speculations on whether they were dating or not dating. My point that I'm trying to make is that the officer killed this brother in his own apartment. There has got to be at the least, there has got to be second-degree murder. At the very least, second degree. If that was me or you that claimed that we went into the wrong apartment and shot some Caucasian woman, we'll be looking at the death penalty right now. No questions asked about it. We'll be looking at the death penalty. I want to bring in some phone calls. You all call me at 301-429-9247. I would like to hear what you have to say about this matter. Please make sure you cut down the volume in the background so that we don't have no feedback. This is ridiculous. I need you all to call 301-429-9247 because I cannot, and then people want to know, why Colin Kaepernick is taking a knee. You have people actually burning their Nikes because they are mad that Nike gave Colin Kaepernick a deal. I want you all to call in for this one. I am not happy with this one at all. 301-429-9247. We cannot let this go. One thing that I like that I saw the citizens go into the town hall meeting and stand up for themselves and demand justice. See, you can't sit back. Well, another thing with us, we cannot sit back and wait for it to happen. We have to get involved. Okay? We have to be proactive. We can't wait until it's our child laying in the middle of the street or laying in his own apartment and being slaughtered. We cannot sit back and wait for that. I had to maintain my composure because you know I can get a little aggravated sometimes. So I had to maintain my composure as I was putting this together because this doesn't make any sense. I can't even imagine my son being in his own apartment and being murdered, and then the officer is being charged with reckless endanger. How do you not look in your into the apartment and see that it's not your furniture. Then they said that there was a red doormat on the floor, on the door before you entered the apartment. You had to know that that wasn't your doormat. This doesn't make sense. We're coming up on a commercial break. We got a nice lineup today. I'm opening up the phone lines, 301-429-9247. We're coming up on a commercial. I want to get a couple of calls in before we go to commercial break, as we're going to be talking about Ben Jealous. Let me see here. Cory Booker. Oh, that's my man right there. We got to talk about Cory Booker. That's my man right there. So, get ready for a nice show tonight. I want your feedback. I want you to come on the line, talk to me. I know some of y'all watching the football game. You know, right now we're going to put the football game to the side because we got a lot to talk about tonight. Let's get ready for this commercial break coming up. Let's go ahead and bring on this commercial break. We'll be right back as soon as these commercials are done.
Ben Jealous. His mother was raised in a Baltimore housing project and left Maryland because her interracial marriage was illegal. He was a Rhodes Scholar who became the youngest national president of the NAACP, which he led to an era of unprecedented growth. Ben Jealous, community organizer, civil rights leader, job-creating investor. Named Marylander of the Year for his role in ending the death penalty, passing marriage equality, and the DREAM Act.
I'm Ben Jealous. I'm running for governor to make sure public school teachers are trained well and paid better, to end mass incarceration and police killings of unarmed civilians, to build a robust, inclusive, and sustainable economy powered by clean energy. I'm the only candidate with a plan for Medicare for all. That means real health care every Marylander can afford. As governor, I'll confront Trump when he attacks our values. I've spent my life overcoming challenges most thought impossible. Maryland, it's time for bold victories and new leadership.
If people say your dreams are crazy, if they laugh at what you think you can do, good. Stay that way. Because what non-believers fail to understand is that calling a dream crazy is not an insult. It's a compliment. Don't try to be the fastest runner in your school or the fastest in the world. Be the fastest ever. Don't picture yourself wearing OBJ's jersey. Picture OBJ wearing yours. Don't settle for homecoming queen or linebacker. Do both. Lose 120 pounds and become an Ironman after beating a brain tumor. Don't believe you have to be like anybody to be somebody. If you're born a refugee, don't let it stop you from playing soccer for the national team at age 16. Don't become the best basketball player on the planet. Be bigger than basketball. Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. When they talk about the greatest team in the history of the sport, make sure it's your team. If you have only one hand, don't just watch football, play it at the highest level. And if you're a girl from Compton, don't just become a tennis player. Become the greatest athlete ever. Yeah, that's more like it. So don't ask if your dreams are crazy. Ask if they're crazy enough.
Welcome back. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I got something that I really want to talk about. What's going on in Congress. I want to talk about Mr. Cory Booker. Cory Booker is a senator from New Jersey. He's on the Judiciary Committee. He is the first black senator from New Jersey. If you have not been following the news lately, Cory Booker released to the public what was supposed to have been some classified documents from Mr. Kavanaugh, who is in. Mr. Kavanaugh is up for appointment for the Supreme Court of the United States of America. And if you are up on your politics, or if you're up on what's going on in the country, that is a lifetime appointment. So it's very important that we investigate the persons that are being appointed to the Supreme Court, as the Supreme Court makes the law of the land. So there were over 900,000 documents given to the Judiciary Committee, like right in a couple of days, maybe even the same day or the day before of the hearing. 276,000 of those pages were made public. 174,000 of those pages were held as committee confidential records. So what my main man, Cory Booker, did, he say, hey, matter of fact, I tell you what, I have video of Mr. Cory Booker making this statement, and I'll let Cory Booker go ahead and tell us what was going on. Let's run a video of Cory Booker, please.
There is no Senate rule that I violated, because there's no Senate rule that accounts for this process. And I say to a chairman that I respect, that I believe has been fair and good to me, I will say that I did willingly violate the chair's rule on the committee confidential process. I take full responsibility for violating that, sir. And I violate it because I sincerely believe that the public deserves to know this nominee's record. In this particular case, his record on issues of race and the law. And I could not understand, and I violated this rule knowingly, why these issues should be withheld from the public. Now, I appreciate the comments of my colleagues. This is about the closest I'll probably ever have in my life to an I am Spartacus moment. My colleagues, numerous of them, said that they too accept the responsibility. There were very serious charges that were made against me by my colleague from Texas. I don't know if they were political bluster or sincere feelings. If what he said was sincere, there actually are Senate rules governing the behavior of senators. If he feels that I, and now my fellow colleagues who are with me, have violated those rules, if he is not a tempest in a teapot, but sincerely believes that, then bring the charges. Go through the Senate process to take on somebody that you said is unbecoming to be a senator. Let's go through that process, because I think the public should understand that at a moment that somebody's up for a lifetime appointment, that this issue, does the public have a right to know? This is not about the Presidential Records Act. This is not a violation of the Presidential Records Act, not a violation of Senate rules, sir. But if somebody's going to land those charges, I hope that they will follow through with me and Senator Durbin, Senator Coons, Senator Whitehouse, Senator Hirono, Senator Blumenthal, now Senator Feinstein. I hope that they will bring charges against us. And I'm ready to accept the full responsibility for what I have done, the consequences for what I have done, and I stand by the public's right to have access to this document and know this nominee's views on issues that are so profoundly important, like race and the law, torture, and other issues.
Mr. Chairman, may I read the Senate Rule 29.5, the standing rules of the Senate, for the benefit of all senators. Any senator, officer, or employee of the Senate who shall disclose the secret or confidential business or proceedings of the Senate, including the business and proceedings of the committees, subcommittees, and offices of the Senate, shall be liable, if a senator, to suffer expulsion from the body, and if an officer or employee, to dismissal from the service of the Senate and to punishment or contempt. So I would correct the senator's statement. There is no rule. There is clearly a rule that applies.
Then apply the rule and bring the charges.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. why don't you subscribe? It's really easy. Just click on that button down there. And for more news from MSNBC, click on any of these videos here for the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more videos from MSNBC with our newsletters. Head over to msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up.
Now listen. For anyone that has decided to become a legislator, congressman, congresswoman, here's a prime example in what it means to stand up for what is right. You have to understand what's going on here. So the Republicans are trying to shield certain documents that will reveal to us who Kavanaugh really is as a person and what his views are in terms of racial justice, what his rules are in terms of the Obamacare. But what they're trying to do is shield certain documents. And what Cory Booker has done, he has taken a bold stand. Cory Booker said, hold up. The American people need to know exactly who we are dealing with. It takes a lot of courage to do this because, as you can see, there are some senators who are saying that he should be expelled from the Senate because his conduct was unbecoming of a senator. If you aspire to be, if you aspire to serve in any public office, you have to have the fortitude to stand up and do what is right. How do you give someone 276,000 pages? Actually, it was 900,000 documents, around 900 documents. 276,000 pages were made public. 174,000 pages were held as committee confidential records. But you give this to them and you don't give them enough time to go through the documents so that they can properly question Mr. Kavanaugh. Now, I got a video coming up. Where Cory Booker himself he explains why he did what he did. Let's cue this video up. Let's run this video of Cory Booker explaining what he did and why he did it.
Last week, you were all over the news, and I was watching it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder what was going on. What is going on in your head? What was happening? Why were you in the news, for anyone who doesn't know?
Well, obviously the Supreme Court hearings have been going on, and Democrats, we've been very frustrated because about 90% of his work product has not been released, so we haven't been able to scrutinize things. And the stuff that we have gotten, about 10% of it, it's been labeled committee confidential. In other words, we couldn't even use it in the hearings. And so Wednesday night, I just went ahead and used it anyway. And so Thursday morning, that set the scene for a lot of tension. And finally, I just announced that I was not going to abide by this committee confidential process. I'm going to release these documents, at which point the more elder senior senator from Texas basically accused me of conduct unbecoming a senator and threatened to expel me from the Senate.
Yeah, and you said...
I said, bring it. I said, bring it.
Did he just say bring it? You're like, yeah, bring it. Let's go. Bring it right now. I'm doing this.
Let me be clear, though. I love my job. I would like to keep my job, just in case anybody's listening out there, but I don't want to keep it at the expense of not doing what's right. And it's not right. It's not right that they're keeping so much from the American public. They're keeping his record. They're shrouding it in secrecy. And remember, he's going for the highest office in the land for a lifetime appointment, a position that could, especially because it's going to change the balance of the court, could affect the rights of workers to organize, could affect our access to health care, could affect women's rights, LGBT rights, voting rights. So much of our culture is going to depend upon this nominee. And we should at least, the American public should at least know what his record is.
And what would be the next step, saying now it's just a vote? Or
so they're going to race to a committee vote, which might, again, get very tense, because I, for one, don't feel that we should be voting on something after not being able to vet a candidate thoroughly and efficiently to do my constitutional duty of advising and giving advice and consent. And then it'll eventually move to the Senate, where you then, the nation will watch what will happen to a candidate who in many fundamental ways disagrees with the majority of Americans. Most Americans believe in a woman's right to choose. Most Americans believe in climate change and that the government should do something to protect the environment. This is somebody that I think is going to erode those rights and a lot more. So this is going to be one of the biggest, in fact, most senators on both sides will say this is one of the most important votes they'll take in their lifetime.
On and on and on. I said, and it's on and on and on.
That's what that's the type of representative we need. You understand? Cory Booker, he put a lot on the line by doing that. And I'm looking for you all to call in. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about this. Because for too long we have representatives that do not have our best interests at heart. This is very, very serious business. We're talking about the appointment of a Supreme Court justice. Very serious business. Call in 301-429-9247. 301-429-9247. And let's just deal with something. So Cory is saying, Mr. Cory Booker is saying that there is no Senate rule, right? Now you gotta understand what he's saying. He's telling them straight out. If you think that I did something wrong, bring it. Okay? Bring it out. Let's deal with it the way that we're supposed to deal with it. So he says there's no Senate rule to stop him from doing what he did. It's not it's not like it's a threat to national security. He may have violated the chairman's rule, and I think that's where he was getting to. I think he was getting to the point where he was saying, I did not violate a Senate rule. He may have violated a chairman's rule by revealing the documents. What do you all think about that? That'd be two Trump appointees. Two. God. My God. Two appointees by Donald Trump. You all have to understand how important it is to get out and vote. You have to. You can't just sit and wait for voting only when we're voting for the presidents. You have to get out in midterm elections and you have to vote. If I don't tell you nothing else, if you don't believe nothing else that I'm telling you, it is very important that you get out and vote in midterm elections. Do not sit at home and think that everything is going to come out okay if you don't go in and vote. I promise you, your vote count. I mean, if you just look at what happened with Donald Trump, I believe Donald Trump got in office because we didn't get out and vote. To be quite frank, we didn't get out and vote. Here's a man in Kavanaugh. And see, this is another thing you have to understand what Mr. Booker was trying to do. President Trump wants people that are loyal to him. Okay? He's not concerned about people who are loyal to the Constitution of the United States of America. He wants those people around him that are loyal to him. This is serious business. Very serious business. We cannot sit around and just let this go without voting. Okay? Call in 301-429-9247. I just can't stress it enough, man. Like I just try, I get out here And I just try to get us to vote and vote and vote and try to get us involved in the process. Get us involved in the whole political process as we know. And I understand, because I was one of the guys that was like, man, the heck with voting. But as you get out here and do the work and you're in these meetings and you're watching what's going on, if we don't stand up and if we don't vote, some things are going to take place in our country. And we're not talking about things that's just going to happen, you know, one time and that's it. The Supreme Court, working families, you have to understand, unions, you have to understand the Supreme Court is the law of the land. Okay? It's the law of the land. If we don't get involved, we're setting ourselves up. And here's the thing about this. So we have midterms. I'm going to tell you how important this is about voting your legislators, and even on your state level. I'm going to tell you how important it is. Because Congress sets the laws. Okay? Even on a local level, your legislators set the laws that the president have to go by. Your governor have to go by. Right? Your mayor have to go by. So to me, you have to get involved in the process to make sure that you are voting people into office that shares your thoughts, shares your point of views. Or if you don't vote and we get people in office that share views that are against what we believe in, then we have to suffer the consequences for not partaking in our political process. Right? It's very important that we get out and vote. Please understand that we have local elections coming up. I want you to get out and vote. We're getting ready to come up on our commercial hour. I want you to chime in. Make sure you call in. Station number is 301-429-9247. 301-429-9247. Let's go into commercial break.
In January, children froze in their classrooms across Maryland. I'm Ben Jealous. Under Larry Hogan, our schools lack more than heat. They lack funding to protect and educate. As governor, I will fully fund education so our teachers are trained well and paid better. I'll ensure the casino money is spent to improve classrooms. I'm endorsed by Maryland's teachers because every classroom needs heat and a high-quality teacher.
So it's kind of obvious what you enjoy here, because you are from head to toe in Pepsi, and then you have your little buddy down there too. Look at that guy. Yeah.
There's one in the car too.
Wow.
I love Pepsi.
We're having a ball down here at Graffiti Alley, doing it up with Melissa. Check it out. Right.
Run the mill.
Alright. It's your boy Epic Photos here. Just showing you a little bit of what we're doing today. Pictures coming soon.
Ben jealous. His mother was raised in a Baltimore housing project and left Maryland because her interracial marriage was illegal. He was a Rhodes Scholar who became the youngest national president of the NAACP, which he led to an era of unprecedented growth. Ben jealous. Community organizer, civil rights leader, job-creating investor. Named Marylander of the Year for his role in ending the death penalty, passing marriage equality, and the DREAM Act.
I'm Ben Jealous. I'm running for governor to make sure public school teachers are trained well and paid better, to end mass incarceration and police killings of unarmed civilians, to build a robust, inclusive, and sustainable economy powered by clean energy. I'm the only candidate with a plan for Medicare for all. That means real health care every Marylander can afford. As governor, I'll confront Trump when he attacks our values. I've spent my life overcoming challenges most thought impossible. Maryland, it's time for bold victories and new leadership. In January, children froze in their classrooms across Maryland. I'm Ben Jealous. Under Larry Hogan, our schools lack more than heat. They lack funding to protect and educate. As governor, I will fully fund education so our teachers are trained well and paid better. I'll ensure the casino money is spent to improve classrooms. I'm endorsed by Maryland's teachers because every classroom needs heat and a high-quality teacher.
Ben jealous. His mother was raised in a Baltimore housing project and left Maryland because her interracial marriage was illegal. He was a Rhodes Scholar who became the youngest national president of the NAACP, which he led to an era of unprecedented growth. Ben jealous. Community organizer, civil rights leader, job-creating investor. Named Marylander of the Year for his role in ending the death penalty, passing marriage equality, and the DREAM Act.
I'm Ben Jealous. I'm running for governor to make sure public school teachers are trained well and paid better, to end mass incarceration and police killings of unarmed civilians, to build a robust, inclusive, and sustainable economy powered by clean energy. I'm the only candidate with a plan for Medicare for all. That means real health care every Marylander can afford. As governor, I'll confront Trump when he attacks our values. I've spent my life overcoming challenges most thought impossible. Maryland, it's time for bold victories and new leadership.
And we are back. We are back plugged in with Joseph. I want to go back a second. I want to go back talking about the local elections because I think that we really have to understand our local elections. And when I speak of local elections, I'm talking about your county executives, right? I'm talking about your judges. I don't know if many of you understand that we elect our judges. Here in Prince George's County, Maryland, the November election, you will have judges that are coming up for election. So you have children that are being charged as adults. They're being overcharged. They're being sentenced to hundreds of years, right? Those judges have to answer to us, okay? There's a big issue going on with my juvenile lifers that I'm deeply involved with. You know, I just don't believe that we should be throwing away our youth offenders. Now, let me be clear about something. I'm not saying in no shape, form, or fashion that as a youth offender, which I am or was, I'm not saying that I should not pay for my crime. But I think that in decency, right, and the most humane thing to do is to apply justice with compassion. Okay, so what am I talking about? We have youth 15, 16, 17 years old, and I'm gonna say commit some crimes, right? Some crimes are murder. Most of them are, violent crimes to be charged as an adult. We have to take all of the circumstances into account when dealing with our youthful offenders, right? Instead of making this a political thing, whereas we say, well, whoever did it, we're going to punish them. We're going to punish them to the fullest extent of the law. We should take everything in consideration. So here in the state of Maryland, We have a governor who is in charge of the parole process for the lifers in the state of Maryland. I just want to be clear about some things. You have brothers that go to jail at 15 and 16 years old, right? Some brothers take pleas to life with the possibility of being paroled one day. Okay? Life with the possibility of parole. But you have to go through the process of the governor signing the parole paperwork, or you would not be paroled. I'm trying to take my time because this is something that me and my producer we are deeply involved with, right? Because my best friend is a lifer. And we can't just lock our youth up for the rest of their life. We can't do this. We can't do this. So I'll say this. Having to be in prison with a lot of juvenile lifers, right? I can say that these were children, man. You know? Whatever the situation is, whatever the circumstance was, these were children that made some bad decisions that we know that if they were adults, they would not have made these decisions. And it comes back to the whole election and the voting privilege, because we vote people into office, right? We vote the governor into office. We got a governor's race that's coming up. We have Governor Hogan, who refuses to sign any life or parole papers that comes to his desk, which is circumventing the whole parole process. Because if the parole board says that I want to parole this guy, the governor turns around and says, nah, I'm not paroling no lifers. This is not justice. This isn't fair. Young kid, 15, 16 years old, take a plea thinking that one day he's going to come back out into society, and then he don't get a chance to come back out into society because we're playing politics with parole, right? So we have to get involved in the parole process. We elect our state's attorneys, our clerk of the circuit courts. We elect them. Coming up in November, we elect them. I got coming up, we're going to talk about voting rights for felons. There's a lot of misconceptions going on in the state of Maryland as to our voting rights. And if you don't know, I am a convicted felon. I am a 2-time convicted felon. And I did vote in the last election, and I voted in the primaries. And it's very important that all of my brothers and sisters in the state of Maryland understand that if your feet is walking on this free earth in the state of Maryland, you are a resident of the state of Maryland, that you can go and vote. You have to go and register, and then you can participate in the upcoming election in November and vote. I'm not going to just tell you something just to tell you. I believe that the 40 to 50,000 returning citizens in the state of Maryland has enough voting power. Did you hear what I said? 40. I'm sure it's more than just 40 to 50,000 voters, returning citizens, have enough voting power that if we come together and stand together, we can make a very big difference in the state of Maryland. Let's get ready to roll. Let's get ready to cue up the legislators' video of Larry Hogan. Larry Hogan being his veto being overridden by the legislators. Let's roll that.
I'm 55 years old 3 Saturdays ago, and I've never, ever in my entire life been in a voting booth. Due to my criminal background, due to the law, and this might sound funny to you, but when I was growing up, they used to ask us, what do you want to be when you grow up? I wanted to be president. I wanted to be the first African-American president. Timing of our newly enfranchisement, is perfect. We're going to swing this election.
And I think about the ex-offender community is that they could actually, as a voting bloc, be one of the single largest voting blocs in the city, forcing change around issues important to them.
Voting gives me the ability to decide how money is spent in my city and state.
Can I get all candidates in the building to come up front?
What y'all gonna do about people who ain't been in no trouble in 7 years, and every time I go get a job, they go back to when I was 20. I'm 52.
Let's erase the barrier of ex-felon and make sure that people have access to the jobs and the opportunities.
Okay, what are we going to do about housing for ex-offenders that come out of prison and have nowhere to go?
You are supposedly involved in a lot of programs geared towards helping ex-felons. If you do not become mayor, will you still be involved in these programs to help the people?
Voting gives you the ability to hire and fire individuals who are not doing their job.
Why being able to vote to me means so much is it's allowing me now to get one step closer to actually feeling normal. And it matters. Not actually having the right to tell you how I feel or why I'm supporting somebody or why I'm choosing not to vote for somebody else just makes me feel less than. So now that I'm able to, I feel that I'm contributing.
We went around, we educated the public. We put up signs all over the community telling everybody that ex-felons could now vote. These people want to be engaged. These people want to get in the process. They're happy to have the right to vote and looking forward for a chance to exercise it. It's a beautiful thing.
We're going to vote. That's what we're going to do. We're going to vote. We're on our way. I'm excited. Never been before, so it holds a lot of anxiety, newness, nervousness, and excitement.
Communities United has registered over 1,000 voters in basically a little less than a 2-week period. It's big. It's big.
I voted for the first time. I feel accomplished. I'm gonna vote every opportunity I get. In November of 2016 is my next time voting.
Getting to go in there, feeling like everybody else, knowing that I did something to participate in a process that's gonna matter, not only in my life, but in this community, is empowering.
Welcome back, and we are here with our last segment. I want you all to call in and let's talk about felons voting. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it was a bad idea? Let's talk about felons voting in the state of Maryland. Call in at 301-429-9247. 301-429-9247. I'm gonna say for myself, it was very important for me to vote. Many of you know I am involved in the politics of what's going on in Prince George's County, what's going on across the state. And without me having the right to vote, just imagine, like, if I didn't have the right to vote, pretty much I'll be standing up and talking for nothing. And you have to understand that just because you're a felon, and we have to be clear about this, it does not mean that you cannot run for elected office. Okay? You can run for elected office. Get out, make yourself vocal. If something is going on, you have to get out and get involved. Okay? It's very important that we understand in the state of Maryland. If you just watch the commercials that were on, okay, our legislators, they fought for felons to have the right to vote in the state of Maryland. Well, your good old governor, Mr. Hogan, vetoed the bill. And so it took our legislators to override Hogan's veto. Here is my thing. When we are sentenced, when we stand before the judge, and the judge says, Mr. Tolbert, I sentence you to 20 years in prison. You have to understand that the sentence that I was given was my punishment. Okay? The sentence I was given was my punishment. It's not fair for a man or woman, a person, to do their time, then come home, pay taxes, yet have no voice in what is going on in their county or their city. That's not fair. So I want to be clear to all of my felons out there, or all of my returning citizens. See, we like to play games with words in politics, you know. Don't say felon. Well, hell, when I go to apply for a job, it say felon. It don't say returning citizens on there, right? So for all of my felons here in the state of Maryland, in particular in Prince George's County, I'm telling you that you can vote. You just saw the video, you just saw the commercials. You can vote. You go to your local board of elections, you sign up to vote, and you participate. Okay? Let me take a call. I got a call on line 1.
Hello, I was hoping to be transferred to Joseph Tolbert's show.
This is Joseph. Hello, how are you?
Hi, how are you? This is Veronica.
How you doing, Veronica?
I'm well, thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm fine. And what would you like to say today?
So I wasn't able to listen to the show in its entirety, but the primary reason you're conducting your show tonight is to talk about the importance of voting, correct?
For felons, yes. Well, the show, no, we had other topics, but right now we're talking about felons' voting rights in Maryland.
Okay, so the importance of voting in Maryland. I guess I have a question / concern, and I want you to just touch on it a little bit.
Okay.
My concern as a person voting in the state of Maryland is that the climate of politics right now, currently, from what I see on the news, some things I hear in the paper, it just seems like it's a lot of, for lack of better terms, mess going on in the world. We have a president that, seemingly got into the White House with corrupt affairs. However, he's not being penalized or punished or impeached. So I feel as though in my head, politics trickle down. You have the president, you have Congress, you have Senate, and then you have state-level laws. What would be my incentive or motive for voting on a state level if it seems as though it won't affect real change because of who's in the White House?
So that's a great question. So one thing we have to understand is we have two tiers of government. You have your federal level, which encompasses the whole United States, and then you have your local elections. So voting in your local elections is what would directly impact you. We're talking about the judges in your county. We're talking about the county council members. We're talking about the county executive. To me, those things directly affect you and I. The president, that's on a national scale. Those are federal issues that may trickle down to us. But I think that voting locally is as important, if not more important, than voting for the president. We're talking about who controls your local taxes. We're talking about who's prosecuting your babies. We're talking about who's letting your babies go. We're talking about property taxes. You know, we're talking about all those things that directly affect our day-to-day living. So it is very important that we get out and vote locally.
Okay, I can see that. Like I said, it's just, I guess, troublesome and don't feel as encouraged with, like I said, the mess and the craziness that's going on in politics. But I understand.
So here's another thing real quick to think about. So we send our elected officials to Congress, right? Congress creates the laws that the president has to follow, right? So it's very important that we elect those congresspersons that think like you and I think. So that's why it's just important for us to stay involved. We have to stay involved. Don't feel like your vote don't count and don't get discouraged. Just hang in there. We only got 2 more years of this joke, and then we can get somebody else up in there. All right.
Okay.
But thank you for calling, Miss Veronica.
Thank you, Joseph. Have a good show. Thank you so much for being informative.
You too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Now, I saw you call, Latasha, so you can call back, because I did see you call. Okay. Let me take this call. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Tolbert.
How are you doing, Latasha?
Fine, and you?
All right. And what do you have to say for me today?
I just want to say, for the last caller, that everybody needs to understand, yes, the climate and the mess that's going on right now is ridiculous. But the mess that's going on right now is a direct result of someone feeling that their vote would not make a difference. A whole bunch of someone feeling that their vote did not make a difference. So it doesn't matter whether or not this is a midterm election or the regular elections. We need to treat voting like a sport. We need to practice, and we need to get out, and we need to take action. Because when we don't take action, we end up with a mess, with a president that's in the White House doing the things that he's doing right now, spending more time on Twitter than he's spending on this country. So I understand that people can get discouraged, but the whole thing is that if you don't take the action, the results are worse. And my mother always told me, if you don't ask the question, the answer is always no. That's the same thing that goes on when you decide to not go out there and vote and use your voice, especially when people do it collectively in numbers because they think it won't make a difference. You got to use the process, and that's all I got to say. Great job, great show.
Thank you so much, Tosh. Thank you for calling. You know that she summed it up. She summed it up like, we have to get involved. Don't be discouraged. Get out and vote. She summed it up. Don't think that your votes don't count, because while we're thinking our votes don't count, the other side knows that their votes count, and they're going to the polls. All right, so let's get out and vote. Vote democratically. Vote for Ben Jealous. Vote the whole Democratic ticket. All right, we're gonna wrap this show up. I thank everybody for tuning in. Next week, join me as I will be having Bruce Johnson. He's running for State's Attorney of Prince George's County. I'm looking for an exciting show. Thank you all for tuning in.